Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Within Range Coaching Podcast. I'm Ranger, certified holistic success coach, and in this podcast, I'm breaking down the journey that entrepreneurs face as they start their organization, find solutions to the problems in their way, and create an impact that lasts. If you're an entrepreneur, nonprofit leader, or purpose-driven community member that wants to learn how to grow your impact and develop yourself as the person behind the mission, then this podcast is for you. I know you're just as eager to get started as I am, so let's jump right in. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to today's episode. This is part of the walk series that we're doing with the people that have supported me and got me to where I am to be able to do my little jaunt across America. And today we are joined with the guy that's helped me get my physical and even partially my mental health in a good spot in order to take on such an adventure. We're joined by Spencer Sharpe from Look Like an Athlete Coaching. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of turn it over to him to introduce himself, talk a little bit about why he's here and his intention for today. Spencer, take it away.
I appreciate the intro, and I'm super excited to see how the walk goes. I hope that my little part in it has been even the slightest bit helpful. I know that it's going to be quite the journey for you. So I look forward to being here, but I'm just grateful to have been, any part of that journey. And I hope that today I can, maybe share any of the insights that we've kind of discovered along the way and just some of the mindsets to approach fitness with, because I think that there's a lot in the industry now that is perhaps not ideal, or at least not suited, not really helping people. There's a lot of shame, there's a lot of negativity, and I think that ultimately there's a better way to do this. So obviously, I'm Spencer, short version. I grew up in a tiny little town in northern Alberta, Canada, and didn't really have a lot of friends growing up. Got into fitness by accident, did a science fair project, and realized that I really liked it. Started training, started getting better at sports, spent all of my free time in the gym. So it was either sports, gym, or at home. And, it's funny, our graduating class had a prophecy for me. I don't know if you remember Body Break, but their joke for me was that I was going to take it over one day. And so from a very young age, it was very apparent that fitness was my thing, and that's what I was going to make my career. So I went to university, got my kinesiology degree, and I've been coaching for just about 8 years now. And, that's kind of brought us to where we are now. I do most of it online. That's how we connected. And if I can, share any little nuggets that I've picked up along the way with people, then I'm grateful to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting how such small parts of our life can turn into something bigger as time goes on. I mean, like you kind of mentioned, we met on social media, and that was just because Alex Hormozi shared a post that you made about his book. I clicked into your profile. I liked what I saw. Just the messaging of, if you're a former athlete and you're not where you want to be, or you want to lose some weight, gain muscle, gain health, I'm the coach for you. And that's what really drew me into your messaging. But I kind of wanted to ask a little bit more about, like, what was that science fair project that started this whole adventure for you? Because that sounds pretty small.
Yeah, well, very small town. I went to the same school from kindergarten to grade 12. Like I graduated 2 hallways away from where I first went to school. And so as you can imagine, every grade is quite small. I think in my 8th grade, when I would have done that project, I think there would have been maybe 20 students in my class. And actually 26 or so, I can't remember exactly, but I remember when we graduated with 29 students, that was like a record year for graduating class, which is nuts to think about now that I live in a city of, several million people. But so when you do a science fair project in that school, it's mandatory up to the 8th grade. So it was the last year that I had to do it. It was part of your science class. You had to do a project, and they would basically give you categories you could choose from. And so one of them was health sciences. I had kind of done all of the other ones. I remember probably my favorite project before this one was like a lifestyle category or something like that. And I broke down household products and I did experiments with them, and it was kind of fun. But in the 8th grade, I chose to do it in health sciences. And when I was doing my initial research for topic ideas, it was the long-term effects of cardiovascular and resistance training. And so we knew the local pharmacist. He was like a kind of like a family friend. We borrowed a blood pressure cuff from him. So we had myself, my mother, and a couple of our family friends participate so that we could get some data. We could have some starting metrics. We could put them through a program and see what the changes were long term. And I could type all of these things up into my document and present it that way. Excuse me. And I ended up winning my category. And I think I got second in the whole science fair altogether because obviously there were some really cool other projects that weren't, in the health sciences that got factored into that. But I did quite well. And so because I used myself as a subject, I was lifting the weights, I was doing the cardio, realized I really enjoyed it. I'd already been an athlete up to that point for, several years. I basically, as soon as I could start running, I was chasing the soccer ball and then using a hockey stick and all of those things. So having the structure of that project and then having my hockey coach at the time be the one who manages that gym. He gave me a program. I started coming in 3 times a week. And yeah, the rest is history from there. I started getting better. I started getting better at sports, like a lot better. That one summer alone made a huge difference. I was like, wow, this is kind of fun. I'm going to keep doing this. And yeah, that little science fair project, that happy accident turned into almost 18 years of fitness and almost 8 years of it being my career now.
Yeah, and I think that's insane that it's just like what you're saying, that one decision to do a project with the cardiovascular and resistance, like how that has transformed to where you are now. Mm-hmm. And I do want to ask you, like, what was making that decision like to jump into look like an athlete full time? What was that transition like?
That's a really fantastic question, actually, because it wasn't a straight line. I did learn early on that I liked coaching. So there would have been about a few years in those early stages where fitness was just me. It was my escape. I was bullied. Even though I was on all the sports teams, I didn't really have friends. I was always the last to be invited to things. And quite often I had to hear about them and then ask, hey, can I come too, guys? And so the first few years, it was just me. It was very solitary, but I found a lot of peace in that. And at a summer job where I was a laborer, I began helping a coworker with his fitness because he knew that he would see me leave work and go straight to the gym in the summertime. And he always thought like, wow, you're doing labor work for 8 hours and you're going to go work out more. Wow, you must really good at this stuff. And so I started giving him some pointers and things like that. And over the summer, he lost about 30 pounds because, he loved playing slow pitch, playing baseball, and he couldn't really play anymore. He could still hit the ball quite a ways, but by the time he ran to second base, he was like contemplating his whole existence. He's like, man, I can't run like this. And by the end of the summer, he was running full bases. He was playing twice a week. And I remember him, it was literally just a passing thank you. It was no emotional moment or anything, but I remember sitting in my truck afterwards before I headed home for the day at the end of my shift, my final shift for the summer, and thought, wow, that was like, I was a part of that. That's really cool. And I didn't even really do anything. I just gave some advice and some pointers. So from there, I actually, I failed, or no, almost failed a class, and I didn't really have a good GPA heading into college. I took another year after high school to get my grades up so I graduated, but I wanted to redo some courses so that I could have a higher GPA to be able to get into university. Because I wanted to do a kinesiology degree, because my assumption was that I was going to go the high performance sport route. I was going to work with like an NHL team or a CFL team, because we don't have NFL in Canada. We just have the CFL. So, if you want to be in like one of the big leagues, it's one of those two. Like we don't have NBA, we don't have like any of these things unless you're over in Toronto. But I wanted to be a high performance sports coach. I wanted to travel with the teams and I wanted to do all of their strength and conditioning. That was my goal. And so I went through my whole degree. My specialization in university was physical activity and sport performance. So I was great at periodization. I was great at, analyzing technique and breaking down form, coaching athletes, things like that. And it really just came as a result of seeing what that life was like for people. I met a couple individuals who were the strength coaches, and it's a lot harder than people think it is. And it's also a lot more competitive. If you think about it, in any major sports league, there's like one person who gets to manage that whole team. So basically, if there's 30 teams, there's 30 strength and conditioning coaches. There are other coaches who help and stuff, but they're in support roles and they're not the person. And so I realized, like, I'm looking, and because, Canada being a small market, I was looking at one of 6 possible teams with tens of thousands of people applying for those jobs. So quite competitive. And so I just started coaching people, and um, I started really loving it. And so I think I more so like coaching itself. It doesn't really matter as much who it is. Obviously, I've kind of niched down now, but that's for more of like an effectiveness and business sense. But I like the art of coaching. I like taking from someone from point A to point B. I think helping someone become their best self is like one of the most admirable things that you can do. Like it lights me up. I don't feel better in the day-to-day work that I do than I do when I'm on coaching calls. That's when I feel like I'm at my best. And so that was kind of like the switch for me. I know that was a very long-winded way to get to it, but I thought I was just going to be a high-performance sport coach, and I was just going to coach all the pro athletes, and it turned out not to be that. But I'm grateful that it didn't, because I don't think I would have been as happy doing that.
Yeah, and it sounds like you kind of maintain that drive to work with people that were athletic or had that drive, maybe not necessarily in that professional standpoint, but again, your messaging is a lot of, if you're a former athlete, I'm the guy for you. Like, how has that shift of like target demographic or niching down, how was that process? What was that process like for you?
The short version is I had to realize that the best person for me to coach is the person who I used to be. Like, because when I stopped playing, I did many iterations. I think most people, when they start in business, I know that this will be relevant for a lot of entrepreneurs, but you get into business and you pick like, okay, who's the niche? And you go through like the Hormozy exercises of like, where's my hungry market? Where are the people that have the money, have the need, and and I can find them. Where are those people? I'm going to go do that. So everybody usually lands on, busy professionals. But when you say that, it doesn't actually mean anything. And you say like, you create your I help statement. You're like, I help busy professionals. In my case, it was lose 20 to 50 pounds, I think was one of my original ones. And I didn't even give a time frame. I skipped that part. I was like, I don't need that part of the I help statement. But, I think a lot of entrepreneurs do that. Even some of the people I have coached in the past couple of years now, they have this business and they're like, oh, I really want to help. But you have to narrow it down. Like, unless you have the audience, you kind of have to narrow down first and be. An old mentor said, I guess I still kind of consider him a mentor. I don't work with him directly, but I've worked in his programs before. But he says this like silly thing that if it's for me, it's for me. Like, if this is for you, it's for you. And it sounds, nonsensical, but you want someone to read this and they want you want them to say either this is for me, or you want them to skedaddle, like, this is not for me, this isn't relevant. You want that. You want to speak to that one person. And so where I'm at now, former athletes, like that's who I used to be. Like when I got into university, I was no longer playing 4 sports. I wasn't doing track and field, I wasn't doing hockey, I wasn't doing soccer, I wasn't doing football. Golf, because soccer was only when I was quite young. I tried to play junior hockey. I didn't make the cut. Just I don't get me wrong, I did have injuries, but I also just wasn't good enough. I didn't make it, and that's on me. Like I can go back and look at why those reasons were, and I think that had I done some things differently, maybe that would have changed. But ultimately, I didn't make it as a pro athlete, and I had a lot of struggles with that. You identify a lot with being an athlete when that's your whole adolescent life. From 5 to 19, that's all I did, play sports, and from 13 to 19 it was workout. So I started eating. I changed none of my eating habits. I was binging like crazy. I was super stressed out trying to balance a full course load in college, a full-time sales job, trying to have a change in identity, trying to become a new person because I was in a new town and new school, new part of my life. And I had all those struggles. And so when I got into business, it was, the busy professionals, then, okay, no hardworking professionals, okay, no hard workaholics. And, I went through all these different iterations, and it just finally came to, I was talking with the same person the whole time. And it's people who had that athletic background like I had growing up. Those are all my best clients now. If I look at every single one of them, I can name them off the top of my head and I can tell you everything about them because like I went through the same shit. They didn't decide to make a fitness career like I did because it's not as interesting to them. They just want the benefit of what fitness can give them. So I fill that role now.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's I laugh from what you're saying about the busy professionals because that was on all of my starting off, I don't know, business plans. And I think that's something that's so valuable for a lot of entrepreneurs and people that are just kind of getting into the game. Going from I help everybody or anybody that will give me the time of day, even just narrowing down to busy professionals sounds like such a leap. It's like, okay, I figured it out. Because now it's taking it from everybody in the world to, okay, busy professionals. Like you're saying, that still doesn't mean a whole lot. Everybody's a busy professional. So, and I think what you're saying there in the term of, I want to coach me, like you and your own experience, being an athlete growing up, having those experiences, being able to say, hey, people like me, people like us do things like this to get where we want to go. And being able to really speak to that. Because that's the messaging that caught my attention with what you posted and what your content is like. And it's interesting hearing your story of that transition from I was an athlete growing up, I want to do this, I landed here. I think that resonates with a lot of different people, that it's not that linear story of, oh, I want to own a business, that's all I ever want to do. It's being very open to seeing how that desire and that purpose connects in different ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of what might help there for the beginning entrepreneur, you could have been at it for 10 years, but you could still be early on in the game because like it's a summation of skills. Like the amount of time that you've done something doesn't necessarily equate to how experienced you are. And what I'll say to that regard is that there's a universal set of mistakes pretty much everybody is going to make, and you will make them one way or another. And I like I said, for years it was different variations of busy professional, and like and that's just even one aspect of business. But like you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and I think the hard part is that I think the quote is you can't see the forest for the trees because you're so in the thick of it that you can't actually see the big picture. If you pick a niche now, it can evolve over time. You can pivot. It doesn't mean you should pivot every 12 weeks because that's also a bad idea. Because then you never get any level of consistency or traction to have anybody see you.
Definitely.
But it can evolve over time. It's not supposed to be linear. Like you're going to make mistakes. It is part of the game. You are. It is not special. Like even now, quite often I have to tell myself, nah, I'm just getting the reps in. Like if you have that long-term vision of what you want to create, you can be very stubborn on vision but flexible on the details.
Stubborn on vision and flexible in the details. I like that.
It's a Steve Jobs quote, but I can't take credit.
It's like from The Office, like Michael Scott, and then Wayne, whatever the quote was. Put this quote by Spencer Sharpe by whatever. Okay, so and then I guess with that being said, I mean, we can both have a whole other podcast about all the mistakes that we've made and things that we've learned, but just in terms of, I guess, like mistakes that you've made that you found the solution to in your business, what would you say are one or two that stand out the most to you that once you figured out how to fix that issue, just kind of let you run off and go to the next level?
That's a great question. I don't know if I can pick one. If I'll do my very best, I would say the mistake is probably more of a mindset one, and not valuing the little things enough. Like, again, we come from the Hormozy world, and I often have this thought because I think like, man, am I just constantly regurgitating everything that he says, and like, am I actually having any of my own thoughts? But I think he speaks in a way that there's a lot of truisms to it, and so there's a combination, between the things that he says, between the work of Jonathan Goodman, who I referred to earlier, and a few other people. Like I think you start to, the more you learn, the more you start to have like these little lessons that you pick and choose from different people, and you kind of apply them into your own worldview. And I think the two of them, if I could combine two ideologies that they both say, is this idea that everything every result you want is going to be a lot harder and it's going to take a lot longer and require far more time and effort than you think it's going to. Like there's no way around it. When I look back at, because I did in-person coaching for the first like 4 years of my business. And even there, like I got to a point where I started having some pretty good business success in terms of monetarily, and then I got lazy and I lost it. And so like, you have these ups and downs, but the one thing throughout all of it, and the reason I think it's hard for me to say because I'm truthfully still learning it, but it's just the work. Like you have to just keep doing the things that you should be doing, regardless of whether you feel like doing them. That's the biggest mindset mistake that I've made in this whole time, is just not being consistent enough.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting you bring that up because I know that on your social media you post, is it that you post a reel every day, or like you're keeping
Yeah.
consistency sexy, that series that you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm still doing daily content, but I've been doing less of the making consistency sexy again. I think today's supposed to be day 192. And it's funny that you say that. I do plan on doing a single take one later, but like I've still posted a video every day in that time, except for I believe 9 days. So
Wow.
I'm still valuing the create a piece of daily video content, sometimes two a day. But in the past week and a bit haven't had a 100% making consistency sexy again one.
Yeah, I was gonna say because it sounds like, I mean, just watching you do that makes me go, oh shit, like I need to get my own thing together. And I think that's another thing to kind of take away is that, yeah, we consume a lot of Hormozy content. I was listening to what his and Layla's thing earlier today, one of their newest posts,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really about finding those nuggets from different creators that work best for you and taking
Mm-hmm.
inspiration from as many places as you can. So it sounds like that biggest lesson for you is, or what you're saying here, find what works, stay consistent, but it's going to take longer than you think, but you'll get there.
Exactly. Just I made a post a little while ago, and it's funny because a local person here who we see on the mountain some mornings when we walk, he sees my content now, and he actually stopped me the other day. He likes to do these funny things. When he sees my content, he'll say, "I heard somebody say on social media yesterday, you should expect to take twice as long to reach your fitness goals." I was like, whoever said that sounds really smart. Like, it was me, of course, but he's a sweetheart for even saying that. But expect it to take longer and expect nothing to go right, and just get to work stacking up the reps. Right, all of my goals this year are based around things that I can that I can control. So I began jujitsu. Like, can I do 150 jujitsu workouts this year? Don't focus on the outcome, don't focus on the belt progressions, don't focus on anything else. Just like show up and keep doing the sessions. And same with business, same with pieces of content. Like, do those things. And yeah, little things you're gonna get here and there. Like you'll just figure it out, but just expect it's gonna take longer and be harder than you ever expect. Like than you reasonably want it to. And who knows, maybe you'll blow yourself away.
Yeah, it's really about having that longer term horizon, focusing. And I think that's another valuable tidbit to put down in the show notes. Make the goal what you can control.
Mm-hmm.
You can't necessarily control when you'll get the black belt, but you can control the variables that will make it unreasonable for it to not happen eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just to kind of like put a pin in that for now, you mentioned at the very beginning that there's certain things in the fitness industry that you don't agree with or that are bad advice. For people that are, the busy professionals, the former athletes, the entrepreneurs, nonprofit leaders, what would you say are the most important things to avoid or to add into their daily life for fitness?
I don't want to go the route of avoid. I'll say add, because I think
Okay.
one of my best coaching practices over the years has been the idea that if you inject enough positive, you can drown out the negative. And so if you have a bad habit of drinking soda, or I guess maybe you guys call it pop, or maybe Canadians call it pop. I don't know. I always catch flack for it. I say soda. Apparently,
I
soda
say
is pop.
soda, so we'll stick with soda.
Okay, we'll stick with soda. But like, if you struggle with drinking soda and You don't like the taste of like a Coke Zero, so you don't want to have the artificial sweeteners and you don't like that flavor. Okay, well, instead of telling you to not drink Coke, which is inherently a negative, humans are quite loss averse. This is one of the psychology things I got, fortunate enough to study in university. Loss aversion. Humans hate loss more than we like winning. And so you fear losing something more than you enjoy gaining something. So how about this? Instead of taking away some of your soda, every time you want a soda, you have to drink a glass of water first. So how can, because over time you're going to be drinking so much, you probably won't even want the soda at a certain point. If you have 3 sodas a day and you have to drink an extra glass of water before each one, eventually you're probably going to only have 2 because you're going to think, if I want that soda, I'm going to have to drink water first. And who knows, maybe over time you just start to enjoy the water. Maybe you do like what I'm doing here with drinking my carbonated water. Maybe you just don't need soda at all because you get enough the bubblies from that. But I would say add more things. And so for me, I come from a very science background with fitness, and I like to add things that have a direct correlation to aging well. So strength training. If you lift 2 or 3 times a week, I say 3 to 4 in all of my content, my branding. But truthfully, it's like you could get a ton of benefit from twice a week. 2 or 3 times a week doing full body training. It's going to help obviously build strength in your muscles, and it's going to develop resilience in your tendons. It's going to be great for your joints, especially if you train with a big range of motion. And long term, it's probably one of the best things you can spend, like per minute spent exercising. It's one of the best things you can do. All of the benefits, mental, physical, longevity wise. So strength training would be one. The second thing would be to walk more, which you're going to be doing a whole awful lot of in the next little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit. I would be interested to see what your total step count ends up being if you're wearing some kind of like Fitbit or something to what that total step count would be. But
I'm going to grab one sometime in the next week or so and get that figured out and put together. So I'll have that data for you. Nice,
cool. But yeah, I remember reading a study in university that the reduction in all-cause mortality, which in layman's terms means your likelihood of dying from anything health-related, reduces by over 60% when you increase your daily movement from 3,000 to anything above 8,000. So like that, so even though the whole 10,000 steps per day thing is kind of based on nothing, if you do it, you have I think it's like a 67% chance, lower chance of dying from everything health related. So
interesting.
Strength train, walk more, and walking more kind of takes care of one of the aspects of like getting sunshine. We're not meant to be in boxes. Like we go from box to box to box to box all day. Like our house is a box and our workplace is a box, and we get our food in a bigger box, and like we're not meant to be inside all the time. And so getting out to walk also gets you some of that sunshine, some of the benefits of being in nature, which in a really urban area is a little bit challenging. Sure, I'm very grateful where I'm at that I have Mount Royal 2 minutes away. I can go walk on the mountain every morning. It's not a very big mountain, for being honest, but it's nature, and especially when you do it without headphones, there's a lot of mental health benefits. Excuse me. And outside of that, I would say just eat more whole foods. Like the more single ingredient foods you can eat, the better. And I think that's kind of the cherry on top, because again, these are all things that you can, like, they have a pretty low barrier to entry, and you can do them for the rest of your life, and they benefit you for the rest of your life. I could talk about little things like when I put my shoes on, I purposely stand on one foot and balance, because, in university, again, when I was learning how to assess different levels of fitness, I saw there was a really high correlation between aging well and being able to balance on one foot. Like if one day when I'm 80, I'm going to be evaluated based on how well I can stand on one foot, I may as well practice standing on one foot right now. So there's little things like that. But I think if you can strength train, walk more, which gets you outside, you eat more single ingredient foods. I'll add to the final thing on the list, sleep more. Like sleep it's if you put all the benefits into a pill and sold it, like you'd think it's illegal. It's so good for you in every area.
Yeah. So to kind of wrap it up, it sounds like think in the positive. What am I adding to my life? What am I gaining from this activity? Eat more whole foods, single ingredients, drink more water, walk more, sleep more.
Strength. If I had to put it in a quick list: strength train, 2 to 3 times a week. That's the biggest bang for your buck. Walk more, which gets you outside, a secondary benefit. Sleep more and eat more single ingredient foods. That doesn't mean you're going to be stuck eating chicken and broccoli for the rest of your life. Like, don't get me wrong, I still eat frozen pizzas, but if the shorter the ingredient list, the better.
Perfect. And I'll kind of put those notes in the show notes just so that it's a little bit more clear and easy to grab. But awesome. No, I think that's fantastic. Those are really, and the greatest thing about those is that it's not complicated. It's not hard to do. It's just about doing them, as we said earlier, consistently, adding them to your life for the longevity of you.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. All right, Spencer. Well, thank you for spending some time with us today. I know you have your Facebook group. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, what that looks like?
Absolutely. So that is where I like to host all of my free resources, because I have just found it to be the easiest way. There's the little featured tab that I can save everything. So I've done a lot of live trainings. I've created mini resources, a lot of video trainings. I give away some of the exact resources that that clients get in that group. And so feel free to join. Do answer the questions on the way in. Otherwise, I will not accept you in. So truthfully, you will be added to my email list, but that's one of the things. There are other bigger fish to fry for me, but I will be more active on my email list in the months and years to come. But yeah, head in there. I try to post as much value as I can, and it's a way to get a little bit more visibility, especially now that I'm still a smaller account. I can't count on Instagram and Facebook to send my stuff to a lot of people. But when you're inside of a group and you've actually opted in, the chances of you seeing those things are a little bit higher. And again, I'm just trying to put more positive things out there. There's a lot of fitness professionals and just, people in the fitness industry who are trying to do things with negativity. I try to do it with positivity. And so even though I do want to say things like, hey, stop snacking so much, because stop skipping breakfast, because you end up late night snacking and you do all these, like, as much as I say that, like, I just do want to add more positive, and I want to be able to give as much value. And I hop on a ton of free calls where, like, it never leads to working with someone, and that's okay. It's still a win for me. So definitely check out that group. I'm happy to hop on a free call and at the very least give you some guidance, a game plan, and any free resources I have. And if you don't want to do the group, then cool. I would just appreciate a follow on social media. That's Spencer Sharpe Fitness. Sharpe has an E on the end. I'm sure if you search Spencer Sharpe, it'll come up with me anyways. I think I'm the only one.
Yeah, man. No, so yeah, I'll put all that information in the show notes. I've been in the group for the last 7 months we've been working together, and the amount of stuff that he posts in there, I think you post pretty much daily. There's some good interaction, good conversations. And I mean, even just the way that you interact with people in comments, I think also is just another value add. So I'll make sure that I put the Facebook group in, your social media handles, and everything else. But again, thank you for your time today. I appreciate it. And thank you for all what you've done for me with getting me prepped and ready to go for next month and the months to come.
My pleasure.
Thank you, everybody, for investing your time with us today. To continue on your journey of building an impact-driven life, go ahead and check out the resources from Spencer Sharpe and Look Like an Athlete Fitness in the description below. Join the group, follow them on social media, get value, get your mental and physical health where you need it to be, to create the impact that you want to see in the world. Remember, everybody, have fun, stay safe, be yourself, and I'll see you all again next week.